graduated from GE's world famous, is that Crotonville? Crotonville Leadership Development Program. Along with that, Doug also has Six Sigma and Lean Process certified. You are certified there. But I would be remiss if I did not mention a little bit about you personally. You just celebrated your 30th wedding anniversary.
We did.
Congratulations. With your wife Angie, and obviously you have a daughter Kristen as well as a son Nathan.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about CMIT. You opened it up in 2009. I also know that you have won 13 franchise awards in 9 years for revenue growth, technical staff expertise, as well as customer service. Your end client is?
Our end client is the small businesses between 1 and 150 employees.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's talk about, for those small to medium-sized business owners that are out there who really want to understand how you're helping them out. What is CMIT Solutions?
CMIT Solutions, the franchise is located out of Austin, Texas.
Okay.
It was started by an ex-Washington staffer that moved to Austin and started helping her ladies in the neighborhood with their home PCs. So CMIT actually stands for Computer Moms Information Technology. And then over time they kind of pushed the letters together and moved from residential to small business. And so we are full service IT support for the SMB market. So enterprise level, you know, when I was at GE, we called our IT department.
Oh, yeah.
For small businesses, they call CMIT for their IT department.
Excellent. And how long has CMIT been around?
They started, Computer Moms started in like 2004.
Okay.
So maybe even a few years before that, and then they kind of morphed. When we got on, they had just dropped kind of the residential spin and went just to the SMB market. Makes
perfect sense to me. And what makes CMIT Solutions, what makes you different? What are your values? I mean, you hear about a lot of IT services out there. Why CMIT?
Well, the reason we picked CMIT is I just love the space because having been a global vice president, having to communicate in 51 languages, when our IT went wonky, it cost a lot of money. And so I get the pain part of it. So that's how I got into CMIT and why we pursued CMIT, my wife and I. And just decided that we also wanted to be something that was community-based, and being involved in the SMB market and helping small businesses in our community really felt good, felt like what we were called to do. And I think what differentiates us, at least my location, is that I'm not an IT guy. I don't fix your computer. I'm a P&L guy, so I talk about how to keep your business up and running. I push back at the technology so it's not bleeding edge, it's leading edge, it's right the fit, the right value for the end user, because what somebody needs, that's one person in an office, and what we have one client that has 7 locations, manufacturing locations across the country and 170 employees, what they need is different.
Sure.
So we have to customize our solutions. So CMIT nationally has 150 locations now. We're a top 500 franchise. We're the #1 in the IT space in the industry. So the brand really drew me to it because I, working for GE and Lego and Tyco, I was used to not having to sell the company, but just sell the service.
Understand. Yeah, those are some pretty big brand names there.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. Got a lot of really good training and really good exposure.
Well, and that might kind of lead into my next question. Why did you choose franchising over just going out and doing it on your own?
I like the business in a box concept. I didn't have any novel idea or something new that I wanted to do. I just knew the space I wanted to be in, and then to find a service that fit that space really resonated. Again, community. I love the IT. It feels like national accounts or global accounts, because when you have that retained service, it's easier to grow your business because I'm not having to fill the bucket every month.
Sure.
But also the relationships, and we're so important to our clients because we effectively provide the oxygen that their business needs. It matters. We have to stay frosty at what we do, and so I'm a high energy type A, so that really keeps me engaged and keeps our staff engaged with our clients.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. You hit on something, and I just kind of want to go back to it, and it's that you're not the IT guy, right? You basically are overseeing the business.
Right.
And sometimes I think there's a little bit of a myth that goes around that in the franchise space, right? They think, CMI, yeah, it's an IT business. Talk to us a little bit about that as a business owner that's not working in the business but actually working on the business.
That's a great point. When I do validation calls for potential franchise owners all the time, I always try and find out what their background is. If they have a technical background, I talk to them about your biggest challenge is going to be staying out of that and focusing on the business and on your clients, because we are a service business. The IT is the widget that we provide to the end user. So we're a manufacturer's rep agency with IT services. So whatever our client needs, we have to find. And the franchisees that struggle are the ones that want to be a tech to save money early, or want to tell their techs how to do their job and micromanage, and they get down and they lose sight of the strategic vision, the forecasting, the business planning. Those are the things, because they're not comfortable with it, they fall back to what they're comfortable with, and then their business doesn't grow, they can't scale, they run out of money, they start, managing with alligator arms because they're afraid to do anything. I don't want to. I can't do anything, and it starts to snowball, and then they get overwhelmed, and next thing you know, they're out of business. And so, one of the things I always return other franchisees phone calls, even from other industries, to talk about my experience, because again, I'm not an IT guy, I'm a business owner.
Yes.
And you have to focus on the business, not the end product.
You just made me laugh there. The alligator arms, it reminds me of a saying that I used to always say to people, hey, don't fall into the alligator trap of having a big mouth and little ears.
Yes.
Right? Learn how to listen too.
Yes.
And so don't fall into the other trap of, right? The small alligator arms. So are there any other common mistakes that you can think of that small businesses do when it comes to IT systems?
They look at it as an expense versus an investment is the biggest challenge. They're like, oh, well, I can't afford that. Okay, you've had this practice for 20 years, talking to an attorney. If you lost your data, what's that worth to you?
Good point. It's your lifeline.
Yeah, you got to, it could be $200, $250, $300 a month to protect that, get it in the cloud, protect yourself from the crypto wall viruses, protect yourself from data loss. What's that worth to you? It's your, I had a guy, an attorney actually, he asked me, he said, well, you're a sales guy, tell me why I need it. I've never had a problem. I said, it's your practice. What would it cost you if you lost everything? He said, well, my home, I don't know, I can't put it in words.
You answered your own question.
He said, that's the best sales pitch I never got. Because I said, it's not my business. You don't hire me, I'll go help somebody else. But what's it worth to you? And that's the important thing. Build it into their plan. Understand that technology is getting more complicated, not less complicated. People are finding more ways to get around it, but it can be done at a reasonable price if you find the right solution. And that's why we try to customize our plans to our clients.
Well, certainly anybody that hasn't had a problem is overdue as well, right?
Good point, Sean.
It's the numbers, right? It's
sooner or later.
That's exactly right. You're playing the market.
And I have been one of those numbers, so I'm not overdue. Let me just put that out there right now.
Well, the statistics are staggering, and I haven't looked at them recently, but at one point I know it was 70% of small businesses that have a data loss go out of business within the first year, and 90% go out of business within 2 years.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, and people think, oh, I'll be okay. The statistics say you won't be. So, and I don't do the stats, I just,
right.
give you the options.
That's exactly right. Is that why you chose technology?
A
lot of businesses out there. Why technology?
It really is, because I call it being happily woven into the fabric of the community. We see our clients at the movie theater, at the grocery store, and what we do for them matters. I had an attorney who did a testimonial for us very graciously. He talked about, and I didn't know until he did the testimonial, that we gave him 2 hours a night back with his family, because I talked him into doing dual monitors. He didn't want to spend the money, so I did a test. I gave him the monitors for his staff. They became so much more efficient through the productivity games that he was able to get his staff out earlier, do more work, and get home to his family. That matters to me. That's why I do this. Yeah. So he's more efficient. He has more family time. It's just a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. So when should SMB ask for help taking into consideration for weather, ransomware virus, all of those things?
I mean, we're in Atlanta, right? Tornadoes. We just had ice. If you're down for a couple of days, you just, as you had stated, if you haven't had a problem, you're due. At some point, something's going to happen, and what do you want to do to protect it? And there's steps and levels. Everybody wants. Well, I want to be 100% protected. Well, you can't afford that as a small business owner. So you have to look at what can you afford versus whether you're, HIPAA, need to be HIPAA compliant or FINRA compliant. The accounting industry is getting tighter. All those things are going to require kind of the level of security and support that you need. And you need to talk to your IT partner about how do I get a package around that so that my business will survive in the event something happens.
Yeah, it's a different, I don't want to say insurance, but it is.
It is,
right?
It's absolutely insurance.
It's another form of insurance.
Yep.
And like you kind of said, kind of weaving yourself in the fabric, I know that you have served on the board of directors at Woodland Christian Camp, and have definitely spent years as a volunteer community for basketball coach, and obviously you have a real passion for giving back.
We do, and
mentoring.
we have adopted 2 battered women and children's shelter and a free clinic that we provide our ultra level of service, and I pay the bill. We also, I'm the team mom at Georgia State Baseball. Even though my son got drafted out of there a couple of years ago to play baseball, I'm still running tailgates, and matter of fact, I was ordering banners for the seniors on the way over here. That's what, I grew up in a small community or a small neighborhood in St. Louis. That's what we're called to do. The SMB business owners have to give back to the community because the big corporate entities do it because somebody's watching, not because they have to. Having been in those, I can say that and mean that. SMB owners do it because it is our community.
Yeah. I like that. And that goes back to the values, right?
Absolutely.
The values of the organization. So I'm a small to medium-sized business owner. I want to talk to you. I want to learn more about your services. How do I go about doing that?
You can call us at 770-731-0824, or you can send an email to dbates@cmitsolutions.com. Or you can go to our website at www.cmitsolutions.com/FCGA.
CGA. And give the phone number again, please.
770-731-0824.
Okay, and just for our listeners, because I know that's a lot of information to take in, it's CMIT Solutions. And what does CMIT stand for again?
Computer Moms Information Technology.
I like it. And of course, I was Doug Bates. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Excellent. Wow, John, we have our next guest.
Okay.
Would you like to do the honors, or would you like me to share a little bit more?
No,
about
go
it?
ahead.
All righty. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know if we should tee this up with your name of Big Sky, but we're curious about the background of the name of your business.
Sure. So part of the reason is just when people hear it, they say, why Big Sky? I say, I'm so glad you asked. Now I get to tell you my sales pitch without me having to come across like a salesman. But ultimately, the idea is really focusing. Pro Business Channel is a great reason behind it, thinking about all the entrepreneurs out there. But the idea is if you're thinking about franchising, you have to have in your mind big dreams, big opportunities. You have to be thinking big. And so when you think about something that's big, the sky, people like to say the sky's the limit. I don't like that. There are no limits. The sky has no limits. So it's more of a figurative and as opposed to more of like the literal big sky country like some people like to say. So if you're the 1 out of 5 people who know that big sky country refers back to Montana, I'm glad you're thinking about that too, because that's peaceful thoughts in your mind, beautiful pastures, beautiful scenery to be thinking about. So puts you in a good state of mind when we're having a conversation about expanding and growing your business.
Excellent. I love it when there's a story behind a name. So let's talk a little bit about Big Sky here. Tom Dufour is the CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team, where you're responsible for company strategy and support and consult with Big Sky Franchise Team's clients. One client we have in the studio today who we're going to get to. Tom has consulted with and advised hundreds of businesses ranging from the largest companies to the world to startups. Prior to starting Big Sky Franchise, Tom spent 10 years as a franchise consultant working for multiple consulting companies. He also served as the Vice President of National Business and Franchise Development for the Rabine Group. Did I say that properly?
Rabine.
Rabine, thank you, Group, a national facilities maintenance construction company with 15 business units. In his role, he oversaw company-wide sales, marketing, and national expansion initiatives, helping the company expand from 125 million to 185 multi-million, in annual revenues in just 2 years. In addition to that, you've helped the company become regionally and nationally recognized 3 consecutive years as a Crain's Fast 50 company and an Inc. Magazine 500. Boy, the accolades go on and on. Wonderful to have you as a speaker here. You've also been a guest speaker at the International Franchise Expo, International Food Service Show, Chicago Treasury Office Business Expo, as well as the Franchise Expo South. And originally, it looks like you are from Chicago.
Yes.
All right, the Windy City.
Yep.
Where you got your MBA degree from DePaul University.
That's right. Yep.
Excellent. Well, so happy to have you on the show
Thank
here.
you.
And franchising is your business. I've got a lot of different experience here. Talk to us, just talk to us a little bit about that. It's your business, it's your experience.
Sure. Well, most of my career has been spent working with small to medium-sized businesses and helping them take that leap to grow to the next level. A lot of times we're meeting with businesses that are thinking about expanding in some way, shape, or form. They're thinking about, do I open another unit? Do I hire more salespeople? Do I try to expand into new cities, new markets, new areas, new regions? And ultimately, franchising is a method of distribution. So they're trying to figure out a way to get their products, their services distributed to more areas. And so if you're thinking of expanding in that way, franchising has to be an option for you to consider. It may not be the best solution, but it is a solution from just about any kind of business, ranging from retail, professional services, food, hospitality, home services, manufacturing, etc. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah, a lot of it. But I was trying to remember, I think I read that there's 3,800 franchises out there now, and easily cross over 75 different industry categories. That's a lot. Talk about Big Sky, right?
Absolutely right. That's right.
And tell us a little bit about your services and how you work with your clients.
Sure. So our first step that we always take with anybody that's thinking about franchising is having an initial consultation. This when you start to franchise your business, if you're coming into this with the mindset of looking for that this is a hunt for suckers, I suggest you find something else to do with your time. But if you're thinking about this and finding a way to duplicate and replicate your business model, then you sit down and have a serious conversation with us, so either with someone on our team or with myself, to have that initial consultation, to do an assessment, an initial evaluation to see if franchising might be a good fit for you to go through.
So if I were a founder of a concept and I wanted to determine, hey, is franchising the best growth strategy for me, I would contact you.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Understand. And just a little bit more about that. You go in, you do analysis. Do you just work with clients here in Atlanta, or do you get outside of Atlanta? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure, we do work. Most of our clients are spread out across the United States. We do work internationally as well. We have several key accounts based in Canada, Australia, the Middle East, but most of our client base is here in the United States, kind of spread out all over the place. Just in the last 3 weeks, I've been in Orlando, Phoenix, Denver, and Dallas, meeting with clients and meeting with people.
Wow, yeah, so a little bit of travel involved there. Do you have any upcoming franchise shows?
Sure. Well, the last one we were just at was this past weekend, the Franchise Expo South in Dallas, which is one of the 3 largest franchise shows in the country. So we were there exhibiting and meeting with franchise hopefuls and existing clients. There are a few shows upcoming here in Florida and Chicago and the big show in New York at the end of May going into June, the International Franchise Expo.
And help me understand how someone would want to get in touch with you. I'm listening, I've started this business and I want to grow it. I think franchising is the right way to go. How do they reach out to you, Tom?
Sure. The best way to reach out to us is either visiting our website, pretty straightforward name, bigskyfranchiseteam.com, and they can contact us through that or call us at 855-8-BIG-SKY. That's an easy one, 855-8-BIG-SKY, which is 824-4759. 855-824-4759.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Or email me directly, tom@bigskyfranchise.com. Be happy to speak to any of your listeners directly. And the great thing is we don't charge anything until we decide to do business together. So until we agree on something to do together, there's no charge. I have clients that I've spoken to 4 or 5, 6 years before they decide to actually franchise, and they were never received a bill, never received an invoice until we actually agreed to do business together.
What should I be asking you right now that I'm not, that you would welcome for our listeners to hear?
Well, yeah, how about this? You walk into a business and you look around, what do you see that says, I can reproduce this? Or this guy has a tremendous business, but it's merely a lightning in a bottle. You know, he opened a coffee shop in the lobby of a giant building, and he's just in the right place at the right time. How do you make that distinction?
Sure. So there are a few factors in terms of franchise viability or franchisability, as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've actually, we do an initial assessment for that consultation, and where we go through and we look at, there are a few key points we take a look at. First and foremost, we prefer to have an operating business. Right? We'd like to see an operating prototype that's working, that's producing, that's successful, that it has some sort of a track record financially that we could look at and say, do we think someone could replicate this in a similar fashion, that it's not, to your point, some superstar operator, or you just happen to be in the great location that may not be able to be replicated. But if we look at an average performing unit, if that unit is going to work out, and whether that's a fixed location or a home-based business, it doesn't matter.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah,
Okay,
And so then we take a look at, is this something that you could train or teach someone how to do in a reasonable time period? It might be we have clients that they train for 1 or 2 days, some that train for 1 or 2 weeks, and some that train for 1 or 2 months, but in a reasonable time period. We have several, we have several, this is always an interesting one, several healthcare based clients where you have to be a physician or a dentist to own the business or to be involved, and certain states have different guidelines and regulations around that.
Sure.
But in short, we're not teaching the dentist or the doctor how to doctor. We're teaching them how to run a business model. They already have the certification. So if you have a specialty niche business, you can seriously franchise it, but we're not taking average Joe and all of a sudden turning them into a doctor. We're selling a business model and a brand and a system to a professional that already holds those credentials.
So that's almost the opposite of what Doug was doing, right?
Right.
But it's the same thing in the fact that what you're offering franchisees in that area is probably a great deal of marketing expertise, and maybe some ideas on some systems and recurring revenue streams.
That's exactly right. The first step of the process we put our clients through is called the Franchise Blueprint. And the Franchise Blueprint is where we help identify and figure out things like what your franchise fee should be, and your royalty, your territory structure, advertising fees, 5-year cash flow projections, and a competitive benchmark analysis, so that before you jump all the way into franchising, you really have a good snapshot of what this realistically could look like for you as a franchisor, and most importantly, what the return is going to look like for a franchisee. If it doesn't work for the franchisee, it doesn't work for the franchisor. And that's the number one advice I give to all of my new franchisor clients or customers that come on board, is that you have to be thinking with the franchisee first. If every decision you make, you ask a question, how does this help my franchisee make more money? If you continue to ask that first at the forefront of every decision you make as a franchisor, generally speaking, you're going to be okay, because you're helping your franchisees earn and perform, and which in turn leads back to you generating more revenue as well.
I am so happy you brought that up, because I do think that sometimes that equation, it gets turned around and lopsided.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
And we have to remember that our franchisee owners, they're small business owners.
That's right. That's right. And oftentimes for a new franchisor, where I've spent most of my career with emerging brands that have less than 10, less than 50 units, but for a mature franchise to sustain over time, oftentimes it happens because the franchisor has been bought or sold numerous times. The original owners are out of the picture, or they've gone public, and now they're answering, how can I help my stock price, instead of saying, how can I help my franchisee make more money? And it becomes a conflict. And so the president, the CEO, they're in a tough spot to try to please two different audiences.
Well, the simple way of saying what you're saying is that franchisors get paid off the top line as a percentage of royalties, and our kids eat off the bottom line.
That's right.
And so the temptation is to encourage expenditures that maybe aren't ultimately profitable, but drive the top line.
That's right. That's right. Right. And so, in referencing back to the next guest coming up with Surf's Up Fitness, one of the things that I admire in what they're doing at such an early stage is they have a very unique and exciting business model. So this is a first-to-market strategy that they're looking to roll out, and he can tell more about that later. But some of the things that I'm excited to hear him tell us about today are they're really putting time, effort, and money into investing into proper training, proper facilities, system structure. So they're doing things right and doing things very well. So it'll be exciting for their franchisees as they continue to open and expand. So I don't want to steal the thunder, but just prefe Charlie coming in here.
Yeah, no, actually, that was a great segue.
Definitely wet the whistle, didn't it?
That was a great segue. We're going to bring Charlie in. But before we do that, I do want to give our listeners again, you're a wealth of knowledge, obviously deep franchise experience, and really will be able to do some appropriate coaching, consulting for those that are looking to grow appropriately and effectively through a franchise strategy. So Tom DeVore, please, Big Sky, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, again, best way, you can just go to our website, bigskyfranchiseteam.com, call us at 855-8-BIG-SKY, again, 855-8-BIG-SKY. And look forward to speaking with any of the listeners that may be interested in seeing if their business may be a candidate to become a franchise.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and let's meet one of your clients here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to ask Charlie to join us in the studio as well. We have Charlie Heath. He is with Surf's Up Fitness. And Tom, I really appreciate you giving us that nice segue. I would totally agree with you. Charlie has given me a little bit of a peek of the infrastructure that is being put together for Surf's Up Fitness, and having seen a lot of new brands and new franchise opportunities come onto the market, I am highly impressed with what you guys are putting in place as far as the backbone and the infrastructure. Charlie, welcome to Franchise Business Radio.
Hey, how you doing?
Excellent.
Good to see you. Aloha.
Aloha.
As we say,
Yeah, we got to get the language down. There's a strong theme with Surf's Up. But before we do that, Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what got you going down this path of creating a Surf's Up Fitness concept.
Well, for about 10 years, I built gyms, built over 300 of them. And I learned in that period of time what people did wrong, what they did right, what was too expensive, what ended up breaking the gym. A lot of large gyms go out of business very quickly. So what we did was, when I created Surf's Up, I actually created 2 gym concepts at one time, 2 major programs, and they were sitting on my desk, and I decided, do I want to do this one or do I want to do that one? And I selected Surf's Up.